Adesso passo la parola a tre colleghi di Attica, Daniel Reisner, Gerhard Kreiner e Bert Gewers. Bert Gewers, tra l'altro, è anche segretario generale della nostra organizzazione. E Daniel, che parlerà per primo, è non solo, come dicevo prima, e lui si intimidisce, ma è un grande avvocato, noto internazionalmente per le sue competenze in questa materia, ma è anche un ex ufficiale dell'esercito israeliano che è stato coinvolto in importantissime trattative di pace in quello scenario. Quindi è veramente una voce che io ascolto sempre con grande piacere e oltre ad essere un collega di un'enorme personale simpatia. Grazie Daniel.
Thank you very much, Marco, and I apologize I can't speak in Italian, but if I would, you understand why. A few words about regulation of cyber technology, cyber surveillance, cyber security. And you heard Selena, obviously we need to do something because all of this is out there and she just gave you the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Because I represent many of the leading cyber technology companies in the world, including the very aggressive ones, and you have no idea how dangerous the world is. And I want to share with you 4 points in a few minutes, which explain the challenge we face when regulating these technologies. Point number 1, we do not know what the word cyber means. Now, we are experts in the area, and we do not know what the word cyber means. And I'll explain to you. Hardware. What is cyber hardware? A computer? Yes, obviously. A cell phone? Yes, it's a computer. What else? Everything. Everything with an integrated chip with some type of computing capability is theoretically cyber. Please look at your house and tell me how many things you have which are cyber in your house. Everything. Okay. Your watch. Almost in a few years, your shoes. Software. All software is, by definition, almost in the cyber realm. But you do understand that software comes in lots of tastes and flavors, right? So you have operating systems, but you have applications. All of these are potential victim subjects of what we call cyber attacks. But the cloud is it's a depository system of separate servers all over the world. The cloud is part of cyber. Encryption. Is encryption part of cyber? Encryption, many people will say yes. Some people say we don't know. Encryption isn't actually computer data. Encryption is a methodology to protect computer data. Even Selena mentioned digital forensics. Digital forensics are capabilities which enable you to take data, let's say, from a cell phone, and 100% accurately reflect it so you can present it in a court of law. You may not know this, but there's even a discussion that this technology has to be regulated because in the wrong hands, this technology allows you to steal all the data from someone's computer or cell phone. So we have an issue that if we want to define cyber, it includes everything on the planet today, which is digital, which is way too wide, so we have an issue there. The second question I want to point out is, why do we want to regulate cyber differently than we regulate dual use and armaments? The first part of the answer is that some parts of cyber are weapons. There have been numerous examples of the use of cyber weapons. Cyber weapons can destroy data, destroy real facilities, and in some extreme events can kill people. Yeah. I've seen all versions in real life. Yeah. So that is where they are similar. But where they are dissimilar, and is more important, first of all, cyber weapons can be used by anyone. We have tried globally to limit the use of weaponry and dual-use technology only to authorized users, and weaponry only to government users. But the capability to control that cyber technology will only fall into the hands of governments is almost zero, because of the way, and Selena explained how you could use a relatively innocuous parental guidance system to steal everything you want. But even worse than that, it's not only that, but do you actually trust your own government to use such tools the right way? Yeah. And that has become the new question, because when you use weapons, you expect governments to fight other countries. other people. But when we sell cyber technology tools, we sell them to your government to spy on you. And now people are more concerned because most people don't want their government to know what they're talking about on the internet. So the sensitivity level for cyber technology is much higher than for weapons because people suddenly realize they could be the target. And that has created what we call the human rights versus the security dilemma, which all Western governments are now struggling with. How much to protect human rights and privacy is one example, but what to do with national security. So for example, in the United States, there's the famous going dark dilemma. Because of the increasing capability of encryption, no US government authority can break high-level encryption anymore except for the NSA, which means that if you use top-level encryption on your cell phone, they will never open it, ever, unless they do one of two things, go to the NSA or come to one of my clients, but forget that part. But what I'm trying to tell you is, so the governments are saying, wait a minute, encryption has become too good. So we must, under law, prohibit companies from using the highest level of encryption or require them to give us a key to the encryption. Now, you may think this is crazy, but in December 2018, Australia, for the first time in the world, legislated a law in which it allows the authorities to require all companies in Australia to provide them with the back door and the key to all of their encryption. Only Australia has done this so far, but I'm sure other countries are going to follow. So the reality is we have a huge dilemma on how to regulate because we are trying to balance between our privacy, not someone else's privacy, our human rights, and national security, which we all care about. The third issue is all of us here are experts in trade control, export control, etc. And we would tell you that there has been an immense effort in the last 20 years to unify as much as possible approaches to export. So we have internationally accepted lists like Wassenaar. The EU is based on that. Most of the world, the Western world is based on that. But there are others, Australia Group. There are lots of different documents that we use to more or less normalize. On the issue of cyber technologies, we are flying apart. There is a group of countries in Europe which is saying privacy is above everything. They're usually in the northern part of Europe. And those countries are saying we must protect privacy and security comes second. As a result, they want to increase regulation of cybersecurity capabilities. Other parts of Europe and most of the rest of the world say you got it wrong. Privacy is not that important. Security is more important. And they are refusing to raise the level. The United States started going one way, changed direction, and is now going in every direction at the same time. Israel is on a totally different planet in this respect. We are also dealing with the same challenge, but because we also develop most of the cyber tools, so for us it's a complicated dance. But what that means is that if you ask me today what is the current level of uniformity of regulation of cyber capabilities in the world, I'll say every country almost has a different rule. So I'll give you one example. A new rule from April 2019 in the United Kingdom, just one example of a taste of a difference. In the UK in 2019, in one of the newest counterterrorism laws, it is now illegal in the United Kingdom to watch online terrorist-related material. I repeat, to watch online terrorist-related material. Not only download, not publish, to watch. But good news, there is an exception for academic research and for journalists, but not for you. So, and this is a result of a lot of events which happened in the UK, where the balance between human rights and security is now placed in a different place than in other countries. There are different roles in Germany, there are different roles in other countries in Europe. Each one has addressed this separately. The United States is now downgrading, meaning they are moving in the direction of less protection of human rights and more national security, because the US security agencies are really concerned that they are losing the fight. And other countries are headed in different directions, which means, for me, one of the big issues, no more international uniformity on cyber surveillance, cyber security, and the regulation is becoming back to being national. And the fourth point I wanted to say is what are the challenges we face moving forward? Well, obviously, challenge number one, if everyone is going in a different direction, then if you want to address issues of cyber technology, you are no longer capable of saying, well, if it's okay in my country, then it's probably okay all over the world. It is no longer true. So part of my business, actually, is we developed a practice called international trade optimization for cyber technologies. In other words, companies come, and they say, we have this technology, we want to sell it in these countries. Where do we set up manufacturing so that we minimize regulatory requirement, optimize, etc.? Bye-bye. This has become a really difficult challenge because it is no longer enough to know what your own country is doing. If you want to sell to another country, you have to know what that country is doing. If you want to sell through a broker in a third country, you have to know what that country is doing. And all of that in an area where we don't even know what we're talking about because we still don't understand what cyber means. The next question is, how do we regulate cyber technologies? You know, in the past, customs was the best tool to regulate exports because at some point it had have to go to the port. You know, most of my cyber clients have never exported anything in their life. They press a button and it goes to an FTP server and then the client downloads from there. So we had to address, is that an export? The answer is yes, but how do you regulate FTP or internet email exports? You can't. So the real problem is that the entire system we developed for regulating exports doesn't even work unless they tell you about it, you will never know they exported anything. And I'm not going to the complicated questions. What if a team from Israel, a team from Germany, a team from Norway are sitting together, working together on the system to develop software? Where was it developed? And the server is in Ireland. So in which jurisdiction did this even take place? Which of the regulators has authority to discuss it? No one knows. So the combination of the global village, the fact that the internet has no national boundaries, and the fact that we can't regulate it because we won't know about it has created an immense challenge for countries to regulate cyber technology. And here, my final point, is that comes an interesting question, what is the role of the companies themselves? Now, some companies will tell you, as long as my national regulator gives me a license, I'm fine. I don't need to ask any more questions. However, more and more of my clients are saying that is not enough. The regulator cannot be trusted to see the big picture. They're only national. And so my multinational customers are now saying, we will self-regulate beyond the national regulator. And I'll just give you one example, and with this I end. There's a very famous Israeli offensive cyber company. Offensive means it does the software which takes all your data from your phones for government, right? And it's called NSO. You may have heard of it. It's become very famous. And not only are they my client, I am the chairman of the Business Ethics Committee. Over the last 3 years, our committee has refused business opportunities in 3 years, around 220 million euros, for which we had licenses to sell. Why? Because we didn't like the end user or the country or what they were doing or how we thought they may abuse the system. This was not under any legal requirement. No one knew about it. We didn't report to any government authority because there is no relevant government authority in the world. It was a decision of the group because it was important for them. So here we are in a new world, from my perspective, where government regulators are usually blind, they have very little access, and even if they know, they don't have the capability to physically regulate. And we're stuck with the question of what do we do with all this, because the dangers, as Selena explained, are absolutely real. Thank you very much.
Grazie mille Daniel, è sempre straordinario.